Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mitesh Khatri. I'm a leadership trainer, motivational speaker, and a best-selling author of two books. One is called as Awaken the Leader in You, and the second is called The Law of Attraction. As you probably already know, every Monday we do a video over here based on my first book, which is Awaken the Leader in You. So we talk about leadership topics in English. And on Fridays, we do Hindi videos on the law of attraction, right? So let's come to today's video right now. What is leadership? We covered that in the first video. We covered what kind of a person is a leader in the second video. Today is the third week, the third video on understanding how do you influence people? Because what is the first definition of leadership? Go back to that. Leadership is the ability to influence people either towards a common goal or a common culture. Remember that? And if you don't remember that, I would suggest strongly, because if you've not seen the video, go back to that video and come back. It'll be worth your while. But even if you remember that, let's just repeat the definition again. What is leadership? Leadership is the ability to influence people either towards a common goal or a common culture, right? So that means what is the first quality that we need to build as a leader? Our ability to influence people towards performance, towards action. Now that action can be towards a common goal or towards a common culture or both. But you need to know, you need to understand as a leader how to influence people towards that performance. Make sense? So there's this one question as a leader, you must be obsessed about that question. Keep inquiring that question, keep asking yourself that question and keep researching the answer to that question, because and I'm saying it's a research because you'll never get the end of that answer. You'll have to keep thinking of new answers and new answers and new answers, because here's the question. The question is, why do human beings behave the way they behave? Why do human beings behave the way they behave? So you need to become, as a leader, you need to become a practical psychologist. You need to understand why are human beings motivated in one moment and demotivated in another moment? Why is the person calm and relaxed in one moment and the same person becomes irritated and short-tempered in another moment? If you could understand the science behind that, then you can use that understanding to influence people. Does that make sense? Right? And influence can happen in a short term and in a long term. And you need to know both the strategies. I repeat, influence can happen in the short term and the long term, and you need to know both the strategies. The reason I say that is because sometimes as a leader, you need to immediately motivate people, right? You don't have too much time right now. So you have to immediately motivate people. Or sometimes there's a short-tempered person and you want to calm them down. Or sometimes there's a person who's absolutely confused and you want to give them clarity. Now, whenever you are talking about quick change, immediate change, last-minute change, that's about influencing people in the short term. But you also need to know the strategy of how to sustain that change sometimes in the long run, right? So how do you build a culture? It's not short-term changes, it's long-term changes. You need to know that as well. In the following videos, we'll learn about how do you build or how do you influence people for long-term behaviors, for creating long-term changes in their life. For today, let's talk about how do you influence people in the short term. How do you immediately, in a very short while, for the short term, how do you change people's behavior in the moment? How do you make a person act in the moment? Like sometimes people come to me for coaching and they're depressed. And sometimes on the phone, I have like 10 minutes to motivate them, 10 minutes to get them out of depression, because sometimes they're in the state of committing suicide. Trust me, sometimes I face situations like that. Or sometimes a sportsman calls me and says, Mitesh, I'm about to get into a match and I need to feel good because right now I'm not confident. And in that few minutes, I need to bring him in that state of performance, feeling absolutely confident about himself. Does that make sense? As a leader, you need to understand the science behind how can you give people that short-term change, that quick change, that burst of action in that one moment, right? So ask yourself this question. What's the one thing that impacts people immediately? What's the one thing that impacts people immediately? And here's the answer to that. And probably you already know the answer if you know me a little bit from some of the workshops that you might have attended with me personally. The answer is simple. Emotional energy. That's right, emotional energy. How you feel in the moment always has an impact on your performance in the moment. Right? So you may not be a bad person. Overall, you may be an amazing person. You're not a mean person. You're a really good person. But sometimes in the moment when you're irritated, when you're short-tempered, when you're frustrated about something, in that moment sometimes you're mean to people, aren't you? Right? So in that moment, what was controlling your performance? What was controlling your action? It was your emotional energy. And sometimes you're doing amazing at your job and you're not able to repeat that performance sometimes, right? Because in that moment, you were in an amazing state of mind. Your emotional energy is your state of mind, right? So please repeat this with me. My emotional energy is my state of mind. Come on, participate with me. Come on. My emotional energy is my state of mind. And our state of mind influences our behavior in the moment, right? So in this moment, what controls my performance? The emotional state of mind that I am into right now. So if I'm confused right now, that's what's going to control my performance. If I'm calm right now, that's what's going to control my performance. If I'm excited right now, that's what's going to control my performance. If I'm centered right now, that's what's going to control my performance. Does that make sense? So you need to understand that when you want to influence people in the short term, what do you need to impact first? Do you need to give them functional knowledge first? Do you need to give them feedback on their work first? Or do you need to work on their emotional energy first? I think you got that, right? If you look at both your hands like that, the left hand is the logical hand or the logical mind. The right hand is the creative hand or the right mind, which is the creative mind, right? The left hand is all about functional knowledge, which means technical knowledge. The right hand is all about behavioral knowledge, which means the creative knowledge about how our behavior works. When you're dealing as a leader with people, when you're influencing people at any point of time, you must have the ability to influence people immediately in the short term as well as long term. But to do that, you can't always work on the functional aspect. Like for an example, your team member is not working well and you go and give them feedback. They're not going to take the feedback if they're in the wrong state of mind right now. So whenever you give people feedback, what do you want to do first? Do you want to give them the feedback first, or do you want to bring them in the right state of mind first? You got that. You want to bring people in the right state of mind first. So as a leader, whenever you want to influence people, first get them into a high emotional energy, a positive emotional state of mind. Once people get into that emotional state of mind, 80% of your job is done. You give them that little feedback and they know exactly how to take the right interpretation out of it. They're not going to misunderstand you. They're going to understand you. But if they're in the wrong state of mind, even if you give them the perfect words, the right communication, they're going to misunderstand you. They're going to misinterpret everything you said and they're going to use it in the wrong way. Haven't you done that sometimes? You've misunderstood people sometimes and you felt bad about it later, haven't you? Even I have. I can say that to you. So why does that happen? Because in that moment, we're in the wrong state of mind. So remember again, whenever as a leader you want to influence people, first impact their emotional energy. First impact their emotional state of mind. Now, how do you do that? That's just understanding where to press the buttons. The first button to press is the emotional energy to influence people, right? But then here's the how part, the practical aspect of how do you change people's emotional energy. So on a piece of paper, make a small triangle with me. Make a small triangle on a piece of paper. If you don't have it, you can do it later. But imagine there's a triangle. There are three things. One is the top of the triangle, and then there is the left and the right of the corner of the triangle. So on this triangle, there are three things that impacts emotional energy in the moment. Impacts emotional energy in the moment. All right, I'm going to tell you about one of that right now today so that I'm able to give justice to that. And then the other two things we'll talk about in the following two videos. Okay. So the first thing that impacts human energy, emotional energy in the moment is our body language. That's right. It's our body language. For an example, right now, if I'm sitting like this and I'm talking about leadership to you and I'm talking about being motivated, are you going to be motivated right now? No, I will not be able to transfer that emotional energy to you. See, right now, I'm influencing you in this video, am I not? And what's the emotion I want you to be into while you're watching this video? I want you to be in an excited state, in an open state of mind. For me to get you into that emotional energy, I need to impact your body language because our body creates our emotion. I repeat, in fact, repeat it with me. Our body creates our emotion, right? So if our body creates our emotion, for you to influence the other person's energy, their emotional energy, what do you need to do? Get them into a different body state. Get them into the body state that you want them to. So if you want them to be confident, get them to be in a confident body language. If you want them to be calm, then first get them to be in a calm body language. Don't immediately ask them to relax emotionally because they'll not listen to you. First, ask them to relax in their body language. Take a deep breath. Do an exercise, have a conversation which gets them to put them into that body language. Now, one of the best ways to do that is by first using that body language yourself. Right? So for an example, right now, as I was saying, I want you to be excited and open in this video. So what am I doing? I'm using an excited body language. But if I would go low in my body language, then you're not going to get that transfer of emotional energy of being open and excited and really psyched up about the learning of this video, right? The reason I'm using this kind of an excited body language because that's the emotional energy I want to transfer to you. So what happens to you? Observe right now as you're watching this video, even though you're not using your body language very strongly, but is my body language and my tone and my tempo, is that having an impact on your emotional state of mind? It is, right? Because body creates emotion and it's going to happen an impact on your emotional energy and that will slowly change your body language. Probably already happening in the last 5 minutes of this video, right? So how do you influence people? You don't work on the technical aspect first. You work on the emotional energy first. And how do you impact their emotional energy? First thing, impact their body language. Impact their body language. Do a conversation, do an activity, do something that brings them out of the negative energy and puts them into the positive emotion energy. How do you do that? Get them out of the negative body language and get them into the positive body language. I repeat, get them out of the negative body language and get them into the positive body language. And one of the ways you can do that is by you demonstrating that body language first. Make sense? So during the day, if you want to influence yourself, by the way, then how do you do that? Well, for an example, if you're feeling lazy, stand up and start jumping. And the moment you start jumping, what happens? Your energy comes back. But if you're just going to be sitting there relaxed and just sitting there and you're thinking about motivation and you're watching a motivation video, is the energy going to come back? No way. You're emotionally going to continue feeling low no matter how many motivational videos you watch. So what do? Get immersed in your body language. Bring your body in a motivational state first, because your body is the temple of your emotions. Make sense? All right. So that was the message for today's video. Leadership is the ability to influence people in the moment and long term. How do you influence people in the moment? Right now, immediately, is you impact their emotional energy. And how do you impact their emotional energy? On the triangle, what's the first thing that you change in human behavior to change their emotional energy, to change their emotional state of mind? Body language. Use your body language to impact their body language. Ask them to do a conversation or an activity which changes their body language. For an example, take them out for a walk. And that just immediately changes their body language. Or ask them to just sit in a particular body state, and that brings their emotional energy back. Think about this question. What's the emotion I want the other person to have? What's the emotional energy I want the other person to have? Then use that body language yourself and ask them to get into that body language. And then you talk to them, you'll have the exact emotional energy that you want. And because of that, you'll have a certain amount of influence on the other person immediately in that short term. Does that make sense? Okay, so ask yourself this question. How much control do you have over yourself on your own emotional energy on a level of 1 to 10? I repeat, how much emotional control do you have on yourself on a level of 1 to 10? How many times in the day do you lose emotional energy and not take control back? See, letting go of emotional control is not a problem. The idea is, are you able to take control back during the day? When I asked myself this question for the first time many, many years ago, honestly, my answer was 3. It was pretty low many years ago. I hardly had any control over my own emotional state of mind. Like situations could impact me, people could impact me. Somebody talks to me in a certain way, that used to impact me. If I'm trying to do something and it didn't meet my expectations, I used to get really upset. So what was controlling my emotional energy? External factors, not me. So that was 3 for me. Ask yourself, what's your ability to control your own emotional energy? Now, if your answer is about low to medium, then first start working on taking control and influencing the most important person to control emotional energy. Who's that? Yourself. Because as a leader, if you have not experimented this with yourself, if you don't have the ability to control your own body language to maintain about 7 or 8 emotional energy control, you can't help others do that. Because you'll keep asking me, Mitesh, how do I do it for others? How do I do it for others? No, that's not the first question. Ask yourself, how do I do it for myself? And I've given you the first strategy in this video. Take control of your body language. Take control of your body language. Now, a lot of people say, Mitesh, I'm feeling low. What do I do? Take control of your body language. Practice it this week. Practice it this week. And by the next week, when you ask yourself the same question again, because I will ask you that question next week when I come back on this video again, the question is, on a level of 1 to 10, how much control have you improved on yourself, emotional energy control, last week? And I'm going to ask you this question next week. And if your number has gone up 2 or 3 points high, it means you've taken control of your body language to take control of your emotional energy. Once you do that, I'm telling you, you won't have this question to me about how do I have that impact on others. Because once you have that impact on yourself, who are you? You're a human being. You had a certain amount of influence on yourself. When you learn to influence yourself, you learn to influence your team members, your colleagues, your family members. Make sense? Great. So I hope this video served you. It has added value to some extent to your leadership path. If you're looking for leadership coaching programs one-on-one with me, you can call the number I have given in the description below. Or if you're looking for a leadership training program for your organization, you can call the same number, or you can simply go to my website, miteshkhatri.com. The description shows the link, or you'll find it above on this video here. And just go to that website, contact us through there, and we'll probably help conduct a leadership workshop for your organization. All right, but until then, take care, have a nice day, and until next week, please make sure that you increase your level of emotional control on your own emotional energy. All right, take care, guys. Bye-bye.